what's happening there. Oh. All right, I believe we're ready. All right, President Jenkins, you can start whenever.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry for the delay, but we had little technical difficulties. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is December the 14th, 2020, Reynoldsburg City Council meeting to order, and the time is now 6:41. I am Council President Angie Jenkins. This meeting is being held virtually and live streamed on the City of Reynoldsburg government Facebook page. Molly, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bryant,
Here.
Councilmember Strickland,
Here.
Councilmember Salvati,
Here.
Councilmember Pecoro,
Here.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe,
Here.
Councilmember Cotner,
Here.
Councilmember Baker. He's right there. President Jenkins.
Oh, I'm here. Sorry, I was muted.
Thank you. Now we'll have the approval of the agenda. There are a couple of amendments to tonight's agenda. The volunteer energy presentation this evening has been removed and will forward to our 2021 agenda. Also, a motion has been added to allow Clerk Prasher to handle liquor permits received during the holiday break. If there's no other changes to the agenda stands as amended. Next, we'll have the approval of minutes. Approval of City Council's regular meeting minutes of December 7th, 2020. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, the minutes stand approved as submitted. Next, we'll have community comments. The community comments portion of the meeting is an opportunity for citizens to address council to bring matters to the attention of City Council. Comments related to tonight's public hearing may be made only during the hearing period. The council president will invite speakers to be recognized and give their name and address. All remarks should be addressed to the council as a whole and not exceed 3 minutes. Are there any comments from the community?
Madam President, there is no one in attendance in council chambers, nor did I receive any emails from the community.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from council this evening? Do we have any comments from Mayor Begany this evening?
Yes, Madam President, members of council, I do have 2 pieces of good news to share with you this evening. The first one is that the City of Reynoldsburg has been awarded the OPWC Phase 2 grant for Main Street improvements. For those of you that need a little bit of refresher on that, this will be from basically moving from Jackson to Graham or Wagner Road. These will include some storm sewer upgrades that haven't really been touched since the 1930s. Also curb and sidewalk improvements as well as lighting. It was a $2.9 million project, and we received $1.4 million in grant funds, a $500,000 0% interest loan, and the cost to the city will be about $900,000. It is significantly less expensive than our phase 1 because this is not going to include narrowing of the streets in the phase 1 process of it. But it was great news to hear that, and I wanted to be able to share that piece with you. But more importantly, I have even better news. I'm here to recognize someone tonight who's on our Zoom call, who is near and dear to some of our members' hearts. It is basically in recognition of Ruth Marilyn Lawson and her 80th birthday. So tonight, I'm going to go ahead and read a proclamation of recognition. Whereas it is one of the privileges of the mayor of the city of Reynoldsburg to recognize occasions of importance, and whereas Ruth Marilyn Lawson celebrates her 80th birthday on December 11th, and whereas Ruth graduated from Central State University in 1964 with her bachelor's degree with a certification as a medical technologist, she began working at a hospital lab and wrote a manual discussing hematology. And whereas she worked as a probation officer for the Springfield, Ohio Juvenile Court System, where she became the first African-American woman to become the chief probation officer. And whereas Ruth has always been a devoted member of her community, she has worked as a campaign manager and as a program executive for Community Developers Program at the General Board of Global Ministries. While there, she helped establish Human Relations Sunday, which is celebrated the Sunday before Martin Luther King Day. And whereas she has been an active member of the United Methodist Church since she was a child. She is currently a member of Covenant UMC, where she has spent the last 10 years as the church secretary. And whereas Ruth is devoted a mother to 2 children, grandmother to 4 children, and great-grandmother to 2 great-grandchildren. Now, therefore, I, Joe Begney, the mayor of the city of Reynoldsburg, Ohio, do hereby deem it an honor and a pleasure to extend the certificate of recognition to Ruth Marilyn Lawson on the occasion of her birthday last week, with a sincere congratulations and best wishes for many more years to come. Thank you so much and happy birthday.
Happy birthday, 80th birthday, congratulations.
Happy birthday.
That's all I have.
Surprise.
Thank you, Madam President.
Madam President, may I have the privilege to say a few words?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mayor Begney. Thank you, Council President and members of council for allowing me this personal privilege and a time to honor my mother in the middle of a pandemic. Turning 80 years old is such a huge honor. She's the epitome of a leader and epitome of a strong woman for my family and communities. So happy birthday, Mom. Surprise.
Yes, Meredith, you got me good again. Thank you for the recognition, Mayor. It's a privilege to be her mother, and she serves well, and I thank you.
And I'd like to also say happy birthday and thank you for all of the support that you have given to some of us while on council and supporting in a lot of our events here in Reynoldsburg. You've been riding up and down the highway and coming to a lot of events here. And I just want to thank you for coming here and supporting us here in Reynoldsburg. You've just been a trooper and I appreciate all of your support. And even when I couldn't be there, you were there and making sure that I wasn't forgotten. So I just want to say thank you for supporting us. So do we have any other comments from council or from the mayor this evening?
Happy birthday, Mr. Lawson Rowe.
Thank you. You know, I'm sitting at the hairdresser now, so
Happy birthday.
thank you, Shawnette.
I just got one quick question. Did she get your cake from Schuler's Bakery?
No.
Oh, all right. She's in trouble.
Were there other great bakers around?
True, but I think that's one of the best.
They are, but there are other good bakers around too. But yeah, this has been a whirlwind for me. I didn't expect to be having this much attention drawn to me at this time in my life. So anyway, it's all her fault. I mean, it's all because of. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of this, and I'm gonna go and get my hair done now.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
I don't believe we have any other communications this evening, so we'll move on to the motions. We have a motion to approve a resolution stating what services the city of Reynoldsburg will provide to the proposed annexation of property at 1160 and 1180 Wagner Road. Director Bowser, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Council President. This comes before you tonight. This is for the Messiah Lutheran Church. They own 2 parcels to the north. The church, as it stands on its current parcel, is within the city. These 2 other parcels are for its future expansion so they can tap into the city's services. and be annexed into the city of Reynoldsburg. I just ask that we approve. The lines are currently there on Wagner Road, both sewer, storm, and water. It'll go to Franklin County for its approval after yours, and then be back 60 days from that date back to you for its final approval of annexation into the city.
Attorney Shook, did you have any other comments to add?
No, thank you.
Are there any questions or any other comments from council?
I just have a question. Mr. Boucher, you said there are future expansions. Can you elaborate on what those look like?
Yeah, so they own 2 homes that are up there. This is primarily being done for the expansion of Joseph's Coat that wants to be located adjacent to the church and its parcels. They'll be looking at building a small but generous sized facility there on the parcel. And I'm sure that Messiah Lutheran has other abilities for the other buildings that are currently on there that could be utilized as tapping into the sewer and water. That is pretty much what I know at this time.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from anyone else on council? Any questions or comments? May I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I so move.
Councilmember Baker, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Pacquiao? Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Item B is a motion to authorize the clerk of council to return any liquor permit requests received between December 14th, 2020 and January the 11th, 2021, marked as without a request for hearing, as long as the Reynoldsburg Police Department finds no reason for a hearing while council is in recess over the holidays, unless the police department finds a reason for a hearing that could prompt the calling of a special council meeting. Director Bowser?
Madam President, today
Yes.
I received a liquor permit. So that's why this motion was added at the last minute. The police chief is going to do a review of that permit. And once he submits that information, I will forward it to council and let you know what his determination is, and also determine with City Attorney Shook as to whether council would need to hold a meeting to initiate deciding that there was a public hearing needed.
Okay. Attorney Shook, did you have any other comments?
I'm sorry, Madam President, I do not have any additional comment to that.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Is that Councilwoman Lawson Rowe? May I have a
Yes.
second?
I'll second.
Councilmember
Was-
Bryant?
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? The motion carries. Next on our agenda.
Madam
Yes.
President, there are 2 reports on tonight's agenda. The first is the Clerk of Courts report. And the Clerk of Court reported for the months of October 1st, October 8th, October 15th, October 22nd, and October 29th, a total revenue of $18,898. And the auditor submitted a budget by department and classification for the month of October 2020.
Thank you. We'll move on to the other reports. Development, Parks and Recreation Committee, Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting for December 14th, 2020. Members in attendance are Councilmember Cotner, Pacquiao, Lawson Rowe, myself, and you, Madam President. There's one item on the agenda. It's an ordinance to approve the final plan for the Springs Hill Farm development. Director Bowser or Attorney Shook, would you like to speak on this? Andrew, you're muted.
Sorry about that, guys. Thank you, Councilmember Baker. This one comes before you as a motion for approval by the Planning Commission. This is phase 1 of 4 of the approved development on Wagner Road for the MI Homes development, Spring Hill Farms. This is roughly about 75 homes in its phase 1. We will have to do this 3 more times by state law. It goes to Planning Commission first, then it goes to you. And basically what you're doing is the city engineer has already taken a look at this. They have accepted it. Planning Commission has accepted it. Now, once your final exception is made, it will go to the county recorder and county auditors to create those actual parcels for this plat map and be recorded.
Okay. Are there any questions from the committee on this legislation? Any from council? Okay. Well, seeing none, I move that we forward this ordinance on to council for its first reading. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Pacquiao. Any other discussion? No? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? None. Ordinance carried. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for its first reading. Seeing how there's no other business in front of the committee, I turn this back over to you, Madam President.
Thank you. There is no Public Safety Law and Courts Committee meeting this evening, and there is no Public Service and Transportation Committee meeting this evening. We'll move on to Finance and Administration Committee. Councilmember Savati.
Thank you, President Jenkins. So this is the Finance and Administration Committee meeting for December 14th, 2020. The members in attendance are Councilmember Baker, Councilmember Bryant, Councilmember Strickland, myself, and President Jenkins. Okay, the first item on the agenda is an ordinance to make appropriations for the expenses and other expenditures of the city of Reynoldsburg, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021. Mayor Begany, do you have any comments on this?
Yes, just a couple of quick brief comments on the budget. After review with the auditor's office as well as outside counsel, the budget comes before you this evening. The only thing that is not included in the budget right now is the potential for use for CIC funds. But outside of that, the budget stands for you. If you have questions, myself or the directors will be able to answer.
I have a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Thank you. Mayor Begany, can you explain to me a little bit more what's going to be the plans for the CIC fund?
Absolutely. I have some information and I'll direct to Andrew Bowsher, Director Bowsher, for a couple of pieces. As you know, council approved the creation of a CIC, or Community Investment Corporation, and what our plans are is to kind of go through a process where we will have members from council as well as outside individuals to come in and have a meeting just after the first of the year. We have been advised and agreed with the auditor to find a different bank than the one that we have been using, which is Heartland Bank, just for clarity purposes. And so once the board is established, we will bring them together, have a meeting, and then kind of evaluate the potential for whatever bank that it is that we go to, and then identify some that will probably be coming from the general budget, the general fund, and then we will come back to council at that time and discuss it with you. At that, I'm going to kind of turn it over to Director Bowsher to kind of talk a little bit about the makeup of the CIC and the process that we're going to use and what it may be used for. Director Bowsher? You're on mute again.
Thank you, Mayor. So the CIC for its short term, it's called the Community Investment Corporation. So we've had one for a while. It's pretty much defunct for a long time. We enacted this back in 19 to bring about improvement and growth. So the goal in doing this is to create small business loans and grants, land reutilization, or in better words, of a land bank, and then development finance and development structures and deals. So those are the main functions that we'll be utilizing as sort of we go forward. I think for us, we're kind of still deciding on how we're going to fund it year after year. I think we've talked about some of the bed tax. We've talked about utilizing some of the JEDs, and I still think that we'll narrow that down in the short term. Clearly, we need some seed money as we move forward. After having a meeting last week with the auditor's office, the mayor, and myself, we elected that we would set an earmarked value sometime in January that we would then push in front of you to appropriate those funds. Therefore, we wanted to separate that from the budget. So that's how we're going to do it. What we're going to look at is the mayor and I have taken a look at, have named a couple of individuals that we'd like to put on that board. A local developer that'll be doing some work in the area, Tim Spencer, the CEO and president of Dynalab, Gary James, as two. And then we'll be looking at Tom Schottensteins from the Schottensteins Corporation, who owns the old Kroger's. There's a lot of development potential in that area. We'll be naming a fourth. Potentially, what we're going to look for is one of the finance managers from the bank that we select will be probably that fourth member. It'll be a 7 total member board. And then the mayor sits on it as an elected official and voting member, and then 2 members from council that'll let you guys duke it out amongst yourselves or who'll be on there. And then 3 ex officio members, non-voting members, myself as the director for the CIC, the auditor, and the city attorney, both because of their subject matter experts in various fields that will help the CIC move smoothly along. So that's sort of the breakdown and the goals and function. There's some bylaws that we had our outside firm draft for us. The board will have to vote on those, and there'll be several other instances from that. But it is a political subdivision. After that, I'll turn that over for any other questions or comments.
All right, I believe you're next, Councilmember Baker.
Thank you. The question is for the mayor. One question is, will there be money in this budget so we can finally get our website up to date?
Yes, Councilman Baker, the website has been a constant conversation piece for the last few months, and we did allocate funding for that. Earlier on, in January of last year, we met with the person who's responsible for our website. And to give you an idea of why the website is the way it is there's ours is basically it's a very secure website, but it's not very user friendly. There's not a lot of options that we can use with it. And so what we're doing is we're actually pending council approval at some of the communities, other communities' websites, and find things that are a little bit more user friendly, whether it's opportunity for things online, or if it's an opportunity to just get a little bit more information out there. One example would be the City of Whitehall has a very good website that is very user friendly and also has a lot of good information as far as city upbringing, city issues, city personnel, who to talk to and things of that nature. But we'll be taking comments from members of directors as well as looking at other sites. And again, we're always welcome to hear any suggestions that you may have with that.
And my second question is, this one is a big one for me, and I know it is for Councilman Pacquiao, is about our sidewalk program. Want to make sure that there's money going into that account so we can start getting sidewalks implemented in areas where there is no sidewalks, and obviously fixing up where some of them has crumbled.
Yeah, there's a couple of different options with it. Director Dorman and I, we've talked about a couple of kind of philosophical changes to what we're going to do. So with the help of the city attorney and with our engineering firm, when we put out our road bids, street bids in January, one of the things that will be included with that are the actual sidewalks in the area itself. So therefore, let's just say one of the roads that is being looked at is, I just lost my train of thought on that one. Taylor Mills Place. So Taylor Mills Place is one of those locations. So when the engineers go out to do their early surveying work, they're going to take a look at the sidewalks within that area. And if any of those sidewalks are in need of repair, then they'll be allocated at that point in time. So that's one part of it. So as the city moves throughout, as the service department moves throughout to create and fix those roads, those areas of sidewalks will be taken care of. Now, the other part that you mentioned is those kind of like sidewalks that go to nowhere. I know there's one that is kind of an empty space between Retton and Bryce Road. There's another one at the off Palmer and Graham where it stops right in front of the Livingston House. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and take one of those per year and try and finish those particular things off, depending upon, of course, cost and location. Some are a little bit longer than others. The extension by Palmer in front of the Livingston House is going to be a little bit longer because we've got the bridge in there as well. But we're going to try and take one of those at each turn, so that way we can do a couple of those projects every year. We do have approximately $890,000 in our sidewalk fund. So obviously we want to be judicious about how we use it and strategic in kind of creating some opportunities to finish off some of those sidewalks.
I appreciate it. Because like I said, I've said it before and I'll say it again right now. There's no rhyme or reason that anywhere in Reynoldsburg should not have any sidewalks.
No, and just also for any future development that comes in to the city, anyone that does want to come in, that's going to be part of the deal. They have to either provide those sidewalks or they have to provide, multi-use paths, something along those lines that'll be included in any kind of any of their design schemes. So they come in. So that way there's not going to be anything in there that we have to pick up after the fact.
I appreciate it.
Council Member Bryant?
Excuse me, Mayor. You said the part on Graham Road in front of the Livingston House is going to get done this year?
Correct.
Okay. That is definitely a safety concern. I think we've all seen various posts where we've got people in wheelchairs having to go out into traffic to get around that. So I'm pleased to hear that. And are we getting any funding from the county to assist?
That's our hope. I know we've reached out and talked to the commissioner's office earlier this year just to get an idea of what the cost estimate would be with it. But definitely, believe it or not, the Franklin County engineer, Cornell Robertson, is actually going to be a guest on my 12 o'clock show in a couple of weeks. And I'm pretty sure that subject will come up. Put him on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
And I do have a quick follow-up because we do have a number of places. I would just encourage some more collaboration with the county because they do have some money to spend. The last time I had a conversation with some of the commissioners and they do want to help us. Commissioner Brown in particular has I guess a fondness for walkability. Much as Councilmember Peckerell, and we do need to make a lot more strides in that department. So I would say let's try to coordinate with them, see if we can get a little more funding, because one of the things that I think that we need to look at is also, we've had some conversations about speed tables in the past. I met with Director Dorman, and I think we need to start looking at that in all of our infrastructure projects when we've got some roads through town that are widely sped on, Priestley, Rose Hill, Taft, Kingsley, Bryce. But I think that is something we need to start investing in, because we can only ask the chief to have his officers out at so many locations at so many times, and they're not there 24/7. So, I think the reality is we've got some escalating bad driving through town, and I don't want to see it come down to something tragic. So I think we need to try to find a way to fit that into the budgeting on the new roads that are being prepared going forward.
I'm all for sharing resources and funding from the city, from Franklin County. I'm sure the auditor will agree with me on that.
Hey, you forgot your fiber optics.
Yeah, well, I did talk to Director Dorman about that, but safety first.
True.
Are there any questions from the rest of council?
not a question, but about a comment. Yeah, last Thursday I had a meeting. I was invited to speak as a guest speaker at the Ohio Treasurer's Office, asking for the concern about. I mean, there are many council members from various different cities across Ohio were there, and I was one of those who was speaking there. And they have a concern: what is the need for Reynoldsburg? So obviously, I brought forward these things: road, sidewalk, street. Those are some things that are primary concern for us, along with some other issues. So I brought that one. Just want to bring it up. Maybe there's some kind of funding possible from the state in the future. Nothing, words are not given, but the treasurers are listening from various different township and cities, smaller cities. So that's just I want to let you know.
Yeah, our primary state representative, Rich Brown, for the Franklin County side of Reynoldsburg, he and I have had talks in the past as they get ready to begin the budget negotiations for the state level. Usually, depending on how much money they've set aside, usually there's funding available for certain other things that can go into the budget. And so I know he and I will have those conversations. I believe that Canal Winchester was the recipient of some good graces the last time around. So I think he tries to rotate, during those 2-year budget cycles, money to all the different communities that he represents. I know Whitehall has gotten some different funding for things in the past as well. So I'll definitely be advocating for Reynoldsburg to have an opportunity for there. And I'm sure that we can put together some pretty good ideas for how those funds can be used. So I appreciate your continued insistence on this. It's a great thing, Councilman Paccarel. I appreciate it.
Okay. So this ordinance is going to need to be amended. So I move we amend this ordinance to account for the final budget numbers submitted as part of the packet for tonight, and add an emergency measure to the legislation. Do I have a second on the amendment?
Second.
I saw Councilmember Bryant first, so second by Councilmember Bryant. Any discussion on the amendment? All right, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries and this ordinance has been amended. So now I will move, we forward this ordinance to council for its third reading and approval as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, seconded by Councilmember Bryant. Any final discussion on the? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries and this ordinance will be forwarded to council for its third reading and approval as amended. Second item on the agenda is an ordinance to unappropriate COVID-19 business relief grant program in the amount of $73,837.73 and reappropriating $73,837.73 to the CARES Act Franklin County Fund and declaring an emergency. Anything at all to say on this, Auditor Sisak?
Chairman Salvati and President Jenkins, this is the return of the CARES Act funds that were unused for our community grants. This legislation actually comes from the administration, but I'll be glad to speak on it or answer any questions.
No, it seemed pretty straightforward. Are there any questions from the committee on this?
Just like to say,
Mayor?
yeah, I'd just like to say thank you to the auditor, Director Boucher, City Attorney Shook, and Rich Wagner from the Chamber of Commerce for all their due diligence in looking over numbers that were probably not originally in their job description, with the exception of the auditor, of course. It was very heartwarming for all of us to go out and talk with the business owners. They were very appreciative of what we were able to do in their time of need. Our small businesses are the backbone of our community, and at their time of need, I was very proud that we were able to come together and provide what we did for them. So I thank them, and I thank, again, the members of the committee that helped for the selections.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with the way all the CARES Act money worked out in the end. Not just this, but the way we appropriated the rest of it also. So any questions from the rest of council about this legislation?
Chairman Savati, I don't have a question. I just have a comment, and just to piggyback on the mayor's comments in terms of the backbone of our body, of our community, the small business owners. It was heartwarming and excited and rejuvenating seeing how the city took care of our small business owners from large to small. And small businesses that didn't even know where the city, where the municipal building, the mayor's office was located, were the recipient of some of those funds. And that's just because we had created relationships and we had communication. And so that was a full circle I just wanted to bring to your attention. So thank you.
Chairman Salvati, I have just one clarifying question. When I know the answer, but for the greater good of the public. So we are bringing this in emergency just because we have just got the money and it's to be finished by the end of the year. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So I will move we forward this ordinance to council for its first reading and emergency approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Councilperson Strickland. Any final discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? All right, motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for its first reading and emergency approval. The third item on the agenda for tonight is an ordinance to transfer funds among various general fund accounts for the year-end cleanup and declaring an emergency. Auditor Sisek.
President Jenkins, Chairman Salvati, members of council, this is actually up for third reading tonight. I'm requesting you amend and adopt as submitted in the emails. It was submitted on Friday. I'm not sure if you received it or not, the updates, but they're very minor. A little bit more overtime for the police department and some other things that were crossed out and marked in red on the documents that were sent to council.
Yep, we appreciate the updates on that. So any comments from the committee members? Or the rest of council? All right, so I move we amend this ordinance to account for the final numbers submitted as part of the packet. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by
Christian.
Councilmember Bryant. Any last discussion on the amendment? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, this ordinance has been amended. I move we forward this ordinance to council for its third reading and approval as amended. Do I have a second?
I'll second this one.
All right. I'll second from Councilmember Baker. Any last discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, this ordinance will be forwarded to council for a third reading and approval as amended. That concludes the Finance and Administration meeting for tonight. I return the meeting to President Jenkins. You're on mute,
Angie,
President.
you're mute.
Councilmember President Jenkins, there is an error on your information. This next section is the consent agenda for emergency approval.
Okay. So item 9 will be a consent agenda for emergency approval, but not for first read.
Correct.
Okay, and how many do we have for an emergency approval?
It is, the items there are correct. Items 9A through G.
Okay, so items 9A through G are part of a consent agenda for emergency approval. These ordinances stand for a first reading unless someone would like to remove an item for further discussion. Council will move forward with the first reading if no one has any objections. Would the clerk please read items 9A through G?
A, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Kirch Group Technologies LLC for information technology services for the period of January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021, waive competitive bidding and declaring an emergency. Item B, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract for the city of Reynoldsburg's health insurance coverage with Medical Mutual of Ohio for the period of January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021, and declaring an emergency. Item C, an ordinance to transfer funds among various general fund accounts for the year in cleanup and declaring an emergency. As amended. Item D, an ordinance authorizing the city auditor to fund the health savings accounts for 2021 and declaring an emergency. Item E, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract for city cyber insurance for 2021, waive competitive bidding and declaring an emergency. Item F, an ordinance to encumber the unencumbered balances of the CARES Fund Act to be used for payroll expenses for public safety employees whose services were substantially dedicated to mitigation or responding to the COVID-19 public health emergency and declaring an emergency. An ordinance to unappropriate COVID-19 business relief grant program in the amount of $73,837.73 and reappropriating $73,837.73 to the CARES Act Franklin County Fund and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda for a second reading.
No, first reading.
First reading, okay. Items 10A are part of a consent agenda. These ordinances stand for a first reading unless someone wants to remove an item for further discussion. Council will move forward with the first reading. Would the clerk please read items 10A?
An ordinance to approve the final plat plan for the Spring Hill Farm development.
This ordinance stands for a first reading. Next, we'll move on to a second consent agenda for a third reading. Items 11A through D are part of a consent agenda. These ordinances stand for a second reading unless someone wants to remove an item for further discussion. Council will move forward with a second reading. Would the clerk please read items 11A through D?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 11 Planning and Zoning Code for the City of Reynoldsburg, Ohio. B, an ordinance to appropriate funds for the contingency work pertaining to the construction services relating to the East Main Street and Kroger Traffic Light Project. C, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with EMH&T for the 2021 water main replacement project and appropriating funds. Item D, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with EMH&T for the 2021 sewer main relining and manhole rehabilitation project and appropriating funds.
Thank you.
Madam President, we will need
Yes.
to take a vote on these and then go back and vote on the emergency. You'll need to request for the emergency approval. I'm sorry, I let you skip over that. You'll need to ask for a vote a motion to approve the consent agenda for the emergency approval and a second, and then we'll take a roll call and we'll do the same for this third reading. So why don't we go ahead and do the third reading while we're here? So you will need to request a motion to approve the consent agenda for third reading.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you for the motion to approve the consent agenda for a third reading. I'm not sure who said what when. Molly, do you have that?
Yes, I do. Council Member Salvati made a first. There was a tie there for second, but I gave it to Council Member Bryant. I heard her voice.
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll go back to the
Well,
consent
we'll do-
agenda from,
We'll do the roll call, Madam President.
okay.
Councilmember Bryant,
Aye.
Councilmember Strickland,
Aye.
Councilmember Salvati,
Aye.
Councilmember Pacaro,
Aye.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe,
Aye.
Councilmember Cotner,
Aye.
and Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Madam President, that was 7-0.
Thank you. 7 affirmative votes and no negative votes. We'll move back to the consent agenda for emergency for first reading. Do I have a motion to approve
I'll
the
make the motion.
amendment?
So move.
Councilmember Baker first, I believe, and second was Councilwoman Strickland, I believe. Molly,
Correct.
do you have that?
Yes, that's what I
And will
got.
you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Bryant,
Aye.
Councilmember Strickland,
Aye.
Councilmember Savati,
Aye.
Councilmember Pecoro,
Aye.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe,
Aye.
Councilmember Cotner,
Aye.
and Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Madam President, that was 7-0.
Thank you. 7 affirmative votes and no negative votes. Thank you. Next, we will move on to item 12, which is legislation for a third reading and approval. Would the clerk please read items 12A?
An ordinance to make appropriations for expenses and other expenditures of the city of Reynoldsburg, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021 as amended.
Councilmember Savati?
Thank you, Madam President. This comes from the Finance and Administration Committee, and for approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Strickland, thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Bryant,
Aye.
Councilmember Strickland,
Aye.
Councilmember Savati,
Aye.
Councilmember Pecoro,
Aye.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe,
Aye.
Councilmember Cotner,
Aye.
and Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Madam President, that was 7-0.
Thank you. The ordinance is approved with 7 affirmative votes and no negative votes. Next, we'll move on to other council matters. Does anyone on council have any further items that you would like to discuss this evening?
Yes, Madam President.
Yes, Councilman Pacquiao.
So last week I had a meeting with the Ohio History Connections, the director, Todd. And that is an opportunity for us, very good opportunity. With that, you want to read a little bit from their website, that Ohio History Connections collects the history around this state and archive in their and keep their history. They started in 1957, and there are more than 1,700. Those stories are of historical markers are kept in the Ohio History Connection. So this year they are doing very special. They want to represent minorities, immigrants, or people from other backgrounds. So that's a good opportunity for us to work together and represent ourselves. So I looked into that website and I found that our Livingston House and many other history related to Reynoldsburg are there, but I think there are many more to come. So let me read a little bit here. I think Reynoldsburg community members, not by the city, but all of us community together, we can go to their website and apply. There's a grant programs and things like that. So let me read a little bit, and all of us can go to their website and work together. I had a small discussion with the council member Lawson Road today, and she's also excited and interested to work. I think we can work together something else. So let me read on one paragraph here. The Ohio Historical Marker Program is administered by the local History Service Department of the Ohio History Connections. Since 1957, the program has placed more than 1,700 markers that share our state's history. Partnering with the community sponsors, we help to tell unique stories of the people, place, things, or events that helped shape individual communities as well as Ohio and the nation. Approximately 20 to 30 markers are accepted into the program each year. For this year, the special call for May 1st, 2021, the Ohio History Connection is seeking to rebalance the stories being told across the state and issuing special call for special topics and locations in the next application cycle. The Ohio Historical Marker Program is seeking marker applications that represent underserved audiences throughout Ohio. We are asking for Ohio stories about people of color, women, LGBTQ+, immigrants, underrepresented faith-based communities, people with disabilities, and counties with fewer than 12 markers will be considered as underserved area and given a spot to tell their stories during application cycle. During a special call cycle, only application addressing the requested topics or locations will be considered. The next open application deadline will be on May 1st, 2022. So all this information is available on the website. So from the Reynoldsburg, I think all of us should work together and represent ourselves and make our history in this collections. So with that, I will forward this information to Clara afterwards, so we can put this in a website and any other community members can work together and represent ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else on council have any further items that you would like to discuss this evening?
Madam President, I don't have anything to discuss, but I just want to continue to thank our men and women in service, our doctors, our nurses, our teachers, and people who are in the logistic industry and retail for help keeping our country moving. And we all know the vaccine has been rolled out, so there is light at the end of the tunnel soon. So that's it.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any other comments this evening?
Madam President, may I say a few words? I'd like to just publicly thank the mayor's office and Miss Jennifer Clemens in particular for all the work she's done with Reynoldsburg Connects and the Facebook page. We all know that we have a huge opportunity here in Reynoldsburg to keep our lines of communication open, you know, within our immediate community and the city as a whole. And I know that she works very diligently to get the Reynoldsburg Connect out. So I'd like to just give a shameless plug to please register for Reynoldsburg Connects, because I know it comes out monthly and all of us are connected to Facebook, but we can all register for it to be delivered right to our email addresses, our inbox in our own homes. So thank you for all your work, Ms. Clemens.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments from anyone on council this evening?
Go Browns.
Well, if there's no other further discussion, there will be upcoming meetings for this month. Council is completed with all their meetings for this year. Our next council meeting will be Monday, January the 11th, 2021, and it will be virtual as we prepare for hopefully COVID testing, and that things will change and we'll turn around and be able to meet in person. But for now, we're going to still continue to meet virtually. The meeting for December 28th for City Council has been canceled. And if there's no other further business, this meeting is adjourned and the time is 7:36. And everyone have a happy holiday and stay safe and go Browns.
Go Browns. Merry
Happy
Christmas. Happy
holidays.
holidays. And
Happy
Happy
holidays.
New Year's too.
Yes. and
Merry
Happy New
Christmas,
Year.
everyone.
Merry Christmas,
Thank
happy
you.
holidays.
Merry Christmas.